This you?
What's poppin', what's poppin', what's poppin'? Welcome to Nikki and Moose. I'm Nikki. That's Moose. What's up, Moose?
What up, y'all?
And welcome to the live show. Do me a favor. Of course, like, share, comment, get active in the chat so the algorithm can love on us. The new episode 162, I believe, 162 is live right now. Audio is out, video comes out every Wednesday, so go check that out. If you need some business ideas, if you need some ideas from a business side and a marketing side, this is going to be the episode for you, so go check that out. Moose, how are we feeling?
Man, feeling good. Had a pretty productive day. Excited for this conversation tonight. I think it's going to be a nice, powerful dialogue. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be good.
Okay. All right. For me, I am Gucci. It's a lot doing another YouTube channel. I will say that. It's a lot, but shout out to everybody who has been watching it. We're at 100,000 views already.
Wow.
So November 1st, we did that. So I appreciate all of y'all. But let's get into this topic because I have a lot to talk about with this particular topic. Wise says, what's happening? Shout out to Wise. Hold on, let me put that back up. I got you. Shout out to Wise. We got some hearts. We got Isaiah on some, you're going live closer to my bedtime. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
And he's a couple hours behind.
Yeah, but we had daylight savings time. I don't know, like, is there a specific time zone that doesn't change when we change?
It's a good question, but I don't think so. I think they all go back an hour together and they go forward an hour together, which is still rather confusing because I know last year was supposed to be the last year that the whole daylight savings thing was going to happen anyway, but it happened again this year. So who knows, honestly? Yeah.
I don't know. We're here now.
Awkward.
We're here now. All right. Anyways, so let's set this up real quick, fast, in a hurry. KevOnStage put a video out about why he is talking more about Patreon. And it brought up, I wouldn't say red flags, but definitely some yellow flags that I felt like we should talk about on the actual live. So let's see what he said.
Podcast revenue has been down around 70% for me in all my podcasts. Josh, Angel, and Greg salaries are dependent on podcast revenue. It used to be tremendously lucrative and I was able to pay them and all that type of stuff, but it's downturned tremendously. So instead of having to lay them off or reduce their salaries, I decided to give the Patreon audience and you an opportunity to help basically save their jobs. I'm not even, to put it plainly, in order to help keep them on payroll, I'm going to offer more stuff on Patreon. So I used to be able to supplement their salary even when podcasts drop by Facebook revenue or Snapchat or whatever. But if you hear in the news, Facebook says they're not paying creators anymore, Instagram's not paying for reels anymore, things like that, that's where that supplemental income was coming. So I really don't have the extra businesses to offset that. So I told the Patreon, I'll tell you, if you want to continue to see these podcasts and see all that stuff, then it's going to have to come from people like you. Otherwise, I just won't be able to sustain it personally.
So, Moose, I actually want your take on it because I feel like I received it a different way and you received it a different way. Neither way is wrong. But I just want to know how you receive it as a person who's not necessarily like a super like in that creator world kind of vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I listened to the video at length, which is surprising because that was
It's like a 4
I
minute.
think 4.5 minute
Yeah.
video on Instagram, which is technically a short form platform. So I was
Yeah.
there like, okay. And of course, it came from a very credible source. CJ shared it. Shout out to him. I think today's his birthday. So happy birthday to C.
Shout out to
So I
CJ.
was like, yeah. So I was like, all right, I got to listen to this. So I listened to it all the way through. And then the first thing that came to mind is, of course, my logical behind thought about, okay, I do agree. There has been some changes in the platforms. The platforms are changing the way they do business. The platforms are changing the way they compensate creators. I can understand the business stance on why this might create an issue, right? You are dependent on a specific form of revenue, let's just call it that, revenue or income. And that income is now starting to decrease. And so, of course, you're having trouble to cover your overhead. So that was my original take on it. Now, my mind immediately went into problem solving mode. As you know, I always pride myself on being a solutionist. So I'm thinking about, okay, well, how would you solve that? How should you do that? So I definitely want to talk about, maybe on the back end of this, how creators can platform proof themselves, right? And by platform proof, I mean not being so dependent on the platform to make a living that you don't have to worry about those times. I mean, do times like this show up in every business? Absolutely. Every business is likely to face some cash management issues or revenue issues. I think it's standard for business to go through those ebbs and flows of standard, let's just call them practice. But being overly dependent on a platform and not having that diversified almost way of making money is what puts you in that first place to begin with. So that I'll just keep it right here, Nix, because at starters, that's what came to mind. It was, okay, how can we pay attention to even more? Because I know this isn't recent. It's not like this just happened last week. You know, Reels cut their Reels revenue or whatever payouts that was, I think 8 months ago, if I'm not mistaken. Last thing I got from them was March. Shout out to my accountant who made that very clear. And I was like, okay, so it has been a minute. So yeah, so that was my initial take, man. I was like, okay, the business, there's opportunity for us to change the way we do business as people on the platform.
So I love your take on it. I think it's a bit similar to mine's, where for me, why I said it's bringing up kind of like a yellow flag for me, because I'm like, okay, if top creators are going to start complaining about, not complaining, but moving strategically based off of what the platforms are not paying them for, what maybe brand deals and sponsorships are not necessarily paying anymore, we got to start paying attention. Now, I'm not so concerned per se as far as the platforms, right? We all know the platforms don't necessarily pay creators as good as we should be paid. Now, what I will say, if Country Wayne came out and said, hey, we're going to push everything to Patreon because these people are not paying anymore, then I'll be a little concerned of the platforms as a whole, right? In the beginning, he said, you know, the podcast revenue went down. So that doesn't necessarily have to do with social media as far as, you know, TikTok, YouTube. It may, but may not. I think of podcasting more as like brand deals, sponsorships, affiliates, that whole nine. So it brought a kind of like a concern of like, hey, is people checking for podcasts from a advertising standpoint, not necessarily from a consumer standpoint, but from an advertising standpoint, are they checking for it, right? And then I had a conversation with a really big podcast, And they were like, yo, we're not even getting as much brand deals like we used to. So as I'm seeing an increase of Patreon and people talking about it, people talking about memberships, I'm more of, okay, how do we strategically move in these times where creators, I believe, are over just getting views, over just getting engagement. There has to be now some type of return of investment, especially I think what, in my eyes, what really kind of triggered things was Elon Musk. And this may be coming out of it, but once Elon Musk started charging, and then other people started charging for verifications and things like that, I think we started hearing a little bit more of an increase as far as saying, yo, I probably should get off social media. Not necessarily get off social media, but if I have to start paying to be on social media for the exposure, have I truly but have I really leveraged the followers that I have right now and be able to serve them on a higher level off social media? Because if I don't pay, then I may not be seen. Or if I don't pay a certain type of tier, I may not be seen. So let me have a little bit more control. Do you know Tim Ross?
Yeah.
Okay. So he just, and for everybody in the chat, let me know if y'all know who Tim Ross is. He just dropped a new app called B-Side, right? And so dropping apps aren't nothing new. That's cool. But however, for some reason, this one hit a little bit different for me. And when you open the app, the first thing that you see is more of like a TikTok kind of feed, but it's all his content. So you feel very familiar because now all the vertical form bingeable content is right there. Then on another tab, you see all the shows that are associated with this app. So Lecrae is doing a podcast that's on that, and all these different other shows besides his stuff. Then you see different courses. Then you see the YouTube. So it's really having his whole brand in an app, and it costs $12 a month or $10 a month if you pay the annual. And I think people are just going more into the subscription style a little bit more, maybe to see some of the same content, some to add new content. But I do believe that creators need to have a little bit more of a hold for those people who want to support and understand, like, yo, this is a business and this still has to keep kicking, right? Here's the membership, right? From a standpoint, and shout out to Isaiah who just did it. From a simple standpoint, we have things like crowdfunding, like the tipping, right? So super chat. When it comes to Instagram, we got badges, we got stars on Facebook. I think gifts on TikTok as well as on Instagram. There's different things that you can encourage from a very simple point that I'll say that you could start with getting your audience and your supporters to start showing love. But I do believe what KevOnStage has done, where is, let me push the podcast stuff to the Patreon, because I do want to talk about that, because he does have an app and he does have Patreon. And the question, I don't know if you caught it, the question was like, what's the difference between the app and what's the difference between Patreon, right? Which is, well, we'll go here now, which is a bit of a concern when you have multiple things and you are the face of the brand. Mm-hmm. So if I already pay for the app, but I still want to support, do I have to pay for the app and Patreon? You feel me? Like,
And he, yeah, and there wasn't a clear differentiation between the two. So it seemed like it's possible that both things, what content is being uploaded there, it can be very similar on both of those subscription concepts. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
yeah, that is a bit that part was a bit confusing, but we could talk about that. One thing, and let's be a little, not a little controversial, but I love KevOnStage. I love his wife. I love everything like that. I think the only thing that I wouldn't say I don't agree with, because I do believe in honesty, and I'm not here to change or direct how someone tells their truth. If I was saying the message, I don't know if I would be like, hey, it's up to y'all if they get paid. Like, you're paying for their salary. If it doesn't get paid, we don't do this no more, right? I don't know. Like, if he stayed with the content, right? We're going to add more content. This is why Facebook's not paying. The brand deals aren't going through. And if he just stayed in that pocket, I'd be like, yeah, no problem. I'm all for it. I love supporting creators. I just bought Dan Coe's book. I don't think I need it, but he has this cool package and everything. I bought that. I'm on Patreon for some of my favorite podcasts, so I'm all for that. But then when it was like, yeah, well, let me be honest with you. Y'all don't pay this. I'm not doing this. I get paid them. Now, granted, here's a lesson. I do like how he's like, yo, I do not, like, each thing has to be successful. And
So I was
in my
going to
head,
ask you about that as a as like a non-business person. I want to know your take on that point right there. That was literally my next question. So I'm glad you're going there.
yeah, I like it. That was kind of like an eye-opening thing when I heard that, where it was like, yo, I don't necessarily take from here and here to kind of, make sure this is good. If this isn't good, this isn't good. We call it a wrap, right? So that opened my eyes, and I liked that part. And if, like I said, if he stayed there, I'm cool with that. But I don't know if you say, yo, I can't pay these people, so here's Patreon. I mean, like, what's up? You got me? I'm like, But like I said, the lesson from it is but I think everybody's level of success is different. Like, he looks at, okay, for this to be successful, this has to make a certain amount of revenue. Some people are like, if this has this amount of reach, where all my other content can't necessarily do that, this is successful. Like, so I think it just depends on what is success, but I can understand from a business wise, if it's not bringing in any kind of revenue, why are we doing it? So I could totally understand it. I think about it from what is your definition of success from it, and it can change in the middle of it. You could be like, yeah, I would have started because this is great, and then it's like, okay, this is great, but it's not making me no money. Mm-hmm. What are we doing? I mean,
Yeah. And let me correct what I said. Not a non-business person, a business second person, because that was incorrect. You know what I'm saying? I know, like, you're a creator first, business second. So let me just, for the record, say that. But what's interesting is I literally came into this conversation thinking about an episode on the podcast that we did maybe about a month ago when we were breaking down the business models of the Paul brothers, of Mr. Beast. And we were saying, hey, you think that these people are content creators, but they're really business creators in the process. Like they have become a business, like that quintessential Jay-Z line of I'm not a businessman, I'm a business comma man. That's exactly what that has done. And I really am looking for creators in our community, people of the Black and brown community, to turn that model up. I haven't really seen any standouts to break through with that same thing. I mean, I think KSI is partnered on Prime, so it makes sense, but he's not from America, so maybe there's some slight differentiation there, if at all. But my point is, that's the thought that I came into this conversation with, which is, how do we have more of those, what I always reference as what I should say Simon Sinek references as why people working with how people, the creative minds working with business builders or business development people to say, no, let's think beyond the talent. Let's think beyond the passion of what you enjoy doing. And let's really build and safeguard a business model around you that will help to keep this sustainable. And I love what somebody put in the chat, and they said that the platform compensation should be supplemental income. It's not something that should be dependent upon to make something happen, which I love that, right? Because so much of, and I was watching a video ironically on TikTok where I believe the CMO of, was it HubSpot? I forget. I got to look up what company it was, but he was making his predictions of what's going to be the main theme of each year. And in 2022, I believe he said that every business is going to become a media business. And we've talked about that as a core theme. But what I think is happening now is businesses that are becoming media businesses, they're just utilizing media more or leveraging media more rather than solely dependent upon the media to generate their income or replace their, normal revenue and income. So that's a big almost difference between the two models, where you would look at one being almost like an influencer because they're using their creativity and their influence to utilize more eyeballs or get more eyeballs on them and essentially turn money from that, versus the person who's saying, okay, great, I have a lot of people who trust me or listen to me or watch my videos and my content right now. What or where can I partner, or who can I partner with to bring something together and bring to the market that will really make sense? So that's a big part of this dialogue that, outside of KevOnStage, I just think about creators in similar positions, because when I see people with big following or large following having to deal with that, meaning the numbers did not bulletproof the business from revenue issues. Like you're still dealing with them. That lets me know that there are people with just as much, maybe even more followers, and definitely people with less followers who are in a similar boat, meaning operating their business in a similar model, that are also facing similar challenges. So it's that call of saying, all right, when are we going to start jumping into the other side? Like really going around the business piece a little bit more. So that's definitely something that I took away from that. Like, yo, this is even more proof of why this combination is necessary. This creator business, duo is so necessary in the space.
Yeah, I have to agree, because I think as we see creators evolve, you see the business side, regardless of the age. Like, what was it? That Ryan guy who does the toys with the 8-year-old kid? There's a business component, even though my man just does videos about opening toys, right? It doesn't matter at what age, very young or very seasoned, I'm not going to say old, very seasoned, eventually you're going to have, as Nipsey would love to say, you have to be creative with the connection. And some people will come out with physical products. Some people will come out with digital products. Some people will come out with events. Some people will partner with a boxing situation and do fights. it goes to really starting to think about not just, okay, I want to be a content creator for the sole fact of, just making money off of social media and maybe some brand deals. I think you have to look at it of what are all the different avenues I can make money as being a creator or being a business owner that's turned into a creator. I do believe that, in all honesty, that business owners turning into creators have a little bit of a one-up because you already understand the importance of revenue and continuing to have certain things in place so you can continue to do what you want to do. There's already a product or a service that you're promoting that, worst case scenario, if social media doesn't pay anything, you still have some sort of revenue that's going to be coming in based off your audience wanting to support your brand. So I do believe business owners, and in the chat, let me know what you are. One, or in the comments, type in one if you are a business owner turning creator, or two, if you are a content creator turning into a business owner, right? Just so we can know who's in kind of watching this video and this live stream. But I look at this and I think just because I'm also in this phase of, because I'm starting another channel, so now I'm being very intentional with, okay, I did this. I know what it takes now. Are we doing everything in alignment, right? So where, okay, we have 3 videos up now up on YouTube on my channel. Does each one, is the channel monetized yet? No, the channel is not monetized yet. So I am first being able to promote Deeper Than the Brand. Shout out to those people who are part of Deeper Than the Brand, right? Inside of the description. I'm also able to do affiliates, right? Where I am putting out what my equipment is. If I'm talking about a specific equipment or a software, I'm putting the link to that actual thing and getting a certain percentage that comes back. Because what if this was to blow up and these people want, let's say Canva, let's say Opus Clip and all these things. What if this blows up? If my link is there, I will forever, regardless if it blows up today or regardless if it blows up 3 years from now, I will forever get a certain type of percentage that comes in from that, right? So from a very beginner side, yes, the goal, one of my very first goals is saying, hey, I want to monetize my channel. Cool, but that doesn't mean I just sit and wait till we monetize the channel. What are the different other ways can I do that good. While I get there? Am I collecting my data so that I can present to brands and get certain brand deals and sponsorships? Hey, I'm being very specific with my audience. They are coming for this. They are coming for that. And I have a dedicated amount of people. Every single time I drop a video, we're reaching a certain amount of views and a certain amount of engagement. That, though I am not having thousands, tens and thousands, hundreds of thousands of subscribers, though I'm not getting tens and thousands, hundreds of thousands of views, people will still pay to be in front of that audience. So things that I've learned from the podcast, things that we've done within here, now it's like, okay, I'm the beginner again. You know what I mean? I'm the super beginner. So if I'm the beginner, how can I set myself up off top to make some type of coins? I'm not here to pay my mortgage just yet. You feel me? I'm not here to pay my mortgage, but I'm here to leverage what I'm creating. Now, if that's $4, that's $4 I'm very excited about. If that is 400, 4,000, like it doesn't matter to me, but I do want to be able to set it up for whatever is meant for me is going to be there. So it's just more than, okay, am I posting? Am I creating just to get subs and views? No, I'm not. I'm interested in it, but I'm actually, from a creator side, I'm actually just appreciative of the process of now going way more niche into a specific thing, and how do we diversify on the revenue side early.
Are you thinking about products and services differently now that you, like you said, you're coming into this with that experience in mind? It's like, okay, I already know what is going to be the highs and lows of being dependent on content revenue or even brand deals and things of that nature. Are you thinking about products and services differently?
I don't know if differently, because I think I've had this mindset and this way of going about things for a little bit. I am, like, for instance, being very intentional with making sure I have something physical, like, regardless if it's just merch or if it's something else, right? I'm gonna concentrate first on a hat line. It has to come out. It has to. So that's going to be one of the very first things that I do, and then to see what else happens. I'm cool with it, right? The way that I'm also looking at it is, how am I able to promote Deeper Than the Brand more? How am I able to showcase other sides of it? Like, certain people didn't even know that we have a low key, like, agency side, and we keep it very low key because we take only certain clients, as far as being able to take your content and create other pieces of content for social media. But how do I showcase that? Even it's so crazy because, like, I'm now want with this page not necessarily to be the source, like, okay, come here for the how-tos per se, but I want you to come to see how I did it. So even today, like, I changed it to say, what was the video? I think the video was the ChatGPT CapCut video, right? How ChatGPT made a video. So instead of saying how to make a professional video with CapCut, and I said how I used AI to turn, like, and I'm going to test out that part, because I think now I'm going to fully embrace and monetize that people are there for me. And the information's good, but how do we shift it to where, how did I turn this thought into a business? How did I take this AI tool and make this out of this? So, with that, because I know people connect with people, I don't have to be like, yo, the person who always talks about this, who is that person? No, like, you will always see the face. It will connect with a story. And so when it is time to be like, hey, when I was doing it, I was wearing this hat. The hat's available. Right. I mean, so it's those different types of steps that I'm like, okay, how are we setting up to monetize, even from a deeper connection level?
Yeah, no, that's good. I want to do something real quick, and I'm going to throw it back to you with another question. But for those of you watching, listening to this, however you're doing it right now, when you think about Nikki, I want you to just see the science behind this. When you think about Nikki, if you were responsible for developing a physical product for her, just take a moment, think about what you know about Nikki, look at her, and just in the chat real quick or in the comments, put in what would be one of the first physical products that you would say, hey, Nikki, we're going to go with this one. This is the one. This is the physical product that makes sense for you, right? Again, take a moment and just look at her, think about what you know about her, and in the comments, just put what physical item would you suggest that she comes up with. And I want to make a point, with this here in a second, but I did want to speak to what you just mentioned. What's crazy is that because of what you're doing now to personalize everything from titles to the journey, it really is going back to the personal brand era and not playing the algorithm game. Because a lot of creators have switched in how they title and label things and how they categorize or even speak to certain concepts, not because that's what they want. It's just because they were fighting with the algorithm. But I love what you're doing here because you're saying, no, let me play the long-term game. And at least that's what I'm hearing. Let me play the long-term game of really making sure that at the end of the day, people remember me as the personal brand along with the information or the thought leadership that I'm providing on the platform. Brilliant, by the way. I love that. But let's see some of these here because I want to give you guys some ideas around when you think of yourself and you think about bringing a physical product or a service, because when you say, how do you diversify your revenue streams as a content creator or someone who is using social media to generate money, you have some options, usually around products or services, merch as another item. But I love what you guys are putting here, right? And then I'm going to tell you why this makes sense. So we see hat, hoodie, absolutely a hat. Someone else said merch or coaching package, art, right? I love that. Makes sense. Hat and hoodie combo, absolutely merch. Someone said merch and a sneaker line, right? Super dope. But which makes sense, right? Looking at your sneaker wall, I would think that too. But what I'm saying is usually the first product that you can bring to the marketplace, right? It's something that is already a part of your personality or a part of your aura. You've never, maybe twice in the entire history of this show and podcast that I've seen Nikki without a hat on. Like literally, maybe, and that's a maybe, right? So when you think about what products to bring or integrate into what you're doing along with your content, it's one of those. And it's funny because there was a time where, and I think you still are, super big on energy drinks, right? So I could have seen you.
Oh yeah, I'm on Prime. I'm on Prime right now.
No, I just wanted you to speak to that because I'm saying sometimes we overthink, well, what product should I bring? Well, what product do you normally use as part of your personality or as part of an extension of your brand already, rather than relying on somebody else to showcase that or to communicate that on your behalf or as part of your brand? Why not do it yourself? So I just wanted to bring that in because I'm like, that makes super sense when you launch the hat first.
First off, this right here, go away. What?
Glow line, hilarious.
What? Get out of here. Okay, no.
Somebody said boxing gloves. Okay, that's a day one right there. If they said
boxing
gloves,
that's an absolute, like, if you know that for sure. So I like what everybody's saying because it does align. I do agree. The thought of what would be an energy drink, so I can stop paying for all these other people's energy drinks. I can have my own energy drink, right?
Yeah.
Because I've been like, what's a healthier energy drink? Because I don't know what I'm drinking is extremely healthy. I know what I drank before was definitely not healthy. So, but I'm still alive, so we're still going on, right? But I'm always Mom is watching. Shout out to Kat. Mom is watching. Hi, Mom. How are you doing? But of course, I do agree. We have to look at what we use first, what we always have on, what we're always a part of, and so it does align. Like, okay, I stated, I think last week. Okay, I want to start the toy line. Like I already have one time made, but this was super expensive to make, by the way. I got my little lion thing, right? So I need to find somebody who can mass produce all these other things. I saw somebody, shout out to Isaiah, who pointed it out, like, yo, I DM'd you. You know, I know so and so for the toy situation. I didn't see your DM, so like, DM me again, like, and say that. I don't know where you DM'd. I don't know if you DM'd the podcast or you DM'd me or you DM'd Moose. I don't know what you did, but so yeah, the collectible toy situation, the hats, the hoodies. I don't know about the hoodie situation. Maybe just because I have too many hoodies. I don't necessarily, but I have certain sayings that I know people would love on a hoodie. So I'm cool with that, right? I'm cool with it. But even that, like looking at when you get to the physical part, because I do believe that you have to give a complete experience for your audience. Like the digital is cool. We've been killing it on the digital. Not worried about that, right? Of course, from a overhead situation, digital is like the best situation you can get into as a creator, especially starting. So digital on lock, cool. Coaching packages, if you know, you know. That's all I'll say. If you know, you know. Shout out to MetaSuite. Shout out. There's certain situations already out there, right? But when you get to the physical side, which is going to take some cash, some capital, right? Depending on what you want. Cool. Did you put certain amount aside based off what you've made from tipping, based off what you've made from social media situations, as far as TikTok creator fund, YouTube partner, Reels bonuses are coming back for the holidays. You know, are you putting that kind of aside? Are you putting aside based off the digital that you're creating, right? Cool. Then you have your products, your physical products too. Maybe you want to have a space, right? My whole thing is I probably do want a space. I have to figure out the location. So that's also one of those goals that I have, right? Is there going to be some type of software situation based off what, great for these reactions, so weird. But is there going to be a software situation, especially since I talk so much about AI? I'm open to it. Now that OpenAI is allowing you to do your own GPTs, if you saw my live on my page, you would understand what I'm talking about. I'm probably going to play with that first to see if that is something that I want to, you know, kind of go with, right? I have an idea. If it plays out, cool. Then I could probably, what I'm thinking about, if you create your, and I'm going to geek out for a little bit, so bear with me. If I create my own chat GPT, I can attach it to a digital or physical product, sell it together, and still be able to monetize it instead of the way that they have it set up to where you could do a revenue share with their store. Like I said, I geeked out a little bit. Go check out my live for way more information about it so you know what I'm talking about. But I'm always thinking, and for everybody who is in the same position of like, what do I talk about? What do I do? What can I create? But it always starts with, I'm going to create content to get the signals to see if this is what people want. Yeah, so when I have the, for example, I'll tell the situation here where once I get the hat situation taken care of, logo, all that great stuff, I'm going to start showing it. I'm going to start showing it and be like, yo, are y'all feeling this? What kind of colors is it going to be? Everything that I've said for other people to do, here I'm going to be like, yo, boom. First, I'm going to do it from a protection standpoint. I'm going to do it in my community first, right? show it to a small group, get the signals there. Then I'm going to put it to a larger community once everything is taken care of legal wise. Boom, then I put it to a larger community, see the signals there, see if I do a mass release, if I do a small release, do I do password only, do I do like it's truly going in the process of, okay, but in the meantime, the little coins that I get from here and there, I'm saving it so I can put it for the hats. I'm saving it so I can invest more into AI stuff. I'm saving it so I can get more equipment to be able to do certain things. Like I got a teleprompter right now because I started my YouTube channel, things like that, right? So it's prioritizing from what is the first goal. Like I said, the first goal is going to be monetize the YouTube channel. The second one is to get the physical product taken care of, because already in the meantime, I'm already having the digital products taken care of. I'll probably start a new membership. That's something that I'll probably do. Nice. I'll start a new membership. Yes, there will be a Patreon for the podcast. We have too many after shows that is being organized right now. So just bear with me as much as you're hearing about, well, what is the podcast? Yeah, the podcast is getting a Patreon. All our after shows are going to be in the Patreon. There's going to be some new stuff as well once it starts. So that's another thing that we're gearing up for. 2024 is, how are we taking the brand awareness that we already have, and how are we going to start monetizing it in different ways and not feeling too locked in to what YouTube is going to pay us? Because I'll be transparent. YouTube will humble you, will make you feel like you're doing something from a monetizing way to you ain't doing anything. Why are you even a creator? Makes no sense.
Foul. You know, I love that you mentioned the software and of course the AI and the GPTs in there, because I watched that I guess keynote and I thought of you immediately. I said, oh yeah, it's going to be a good time. So definitely there's a good land of opportunity out there for people interested in that world. I think everyone needs to be at least involved in that world. So definitely. One of the things that I also think some of us need to think about, although it may feel like it's far, it's not. It's actually very achievable. But more importantly, I just want you to think about it for the sake of the mindset that you have to almost acquire to make it happen, right? And so one of the things that some of the early adopters in the space, when I say in the space, I'm talking about people who saw the trend and the wave of content creation and businesses going digital, or just online businesses in general, they did not rush to do what the crowd was doing, which was, let me focus all my efforts in buying a camera, in doing videos, in trying to be popular and be well known and make millions of dollars off of content. They said, what are the resources, tools, technologies, platforms that are going to be required for these people to do the thing that they want to do, right? Mm-hmm. And they put their effort and energy into building platform companies. I think of a company like Ecamm, right? Ecamm is a wonderful resource. Shout out to Ecamm, by the way, a very awesome sponsor of this show and podcast. Make sure you check them out. Can you say it next? www.
www.nikkiandmoose.com/Ecamm. That's ECAMM for the 14-day trial.
On us. How about that? There you go. Yes. A little taste of the podcast. But I'm just saying, a wonderful organization that said, yo, we can rush out and be creators like everybody else. We could be maybe thought leaders or educators, et cetera, et cetera. But why not provide the resources that are required by these people or for these people to do what they do? And so they built a live stream platform. And they still do those things. They teach you how to, utilize the platform and make sense of it, but they provide you with that. And they're the bridge, So a lot of these platform companies, I think of a lot of the community-based companies or organizations or apps or what people call LMS, like a learning management system like Kajabi or Thinkific. These are platforms that rather than, and it's interesting because one of the founders of Thinkific, I think it's Bradley, if I'm not mistaken, he now has exploded with his personal brand and kind of took on the route of making
Oh,
videos.
he does Lightspeed. He does Lightspeed.
Oh, Lightspeed. Okay, there we go. So he was an early founder of a platform, right? So people who position themselves as, hey, let me be the bridge. I don't want to be a part of the crowd per se. Not that there's anything against that. I mean, obviously we're all here because to some shape or form we are that. But what I am saying in this next wave, as AI and tech continue to advance and become more accessible to everyone, one of the things that I want us to think about is not just the utilization of these tools or the integration of some of these things, but to say, hey, is there opportunity for me? Is there a vision, a lane, insight? Is there something that I know that will allow me to bring forth a platform that will help people to achieve what they want to do, right? So it takes a little bit of discipline. It takes a little bit of patience. It takes a little bit of almost humility as well, because you're intentionally taking yourself out of the limelight to say, nope, I'm not going to make this about me. I'm going to make this about the thing. And, obviously the goal is to make that or let that be so accessible and helpful for people that it's like you can't think of AI or open AI without thinking about Sam Altman right now. It's impossible. The dude is incredible with what he's done. It happens. So every great company, there's usually a great person behind it who gets just as much recognition because they're the brains behind the operation. So that's just one of those things that I wanted to throw into the mix as well, Nick. It's like, yeah, let's utilize all of these opportunities as well, but let's not forget about this other thing, which is, what people call a platform company as another alternative, because we do have unique insights as creators or as people who are engaging with community that companies actually really need that type of feedback. Mm-hmm. So rather than giving that feedback to a company directly and say, sure, go ahead and make your platform better, we can use that feedback for ourselves to create what is the missing link.
Yeah, and for anyone who's thinking about doing that platform style, I would suggest that you actually team up with a platform or a software that you're interested in creating, so you can understand kind of the ins and outs, right? So it could kind of help with kind of your vision and understanding that how easy or not easy certain things are and the obstacles that you may have to come through. Because even now I'm partnering with some really good AI tools just so I can understand some of the upgrades that they have to do. Like, what makes you choose these things? What makes you choose this particular, and just understanding like how us as consumers are like, just make the upgrade already, like update this, do this, have the edit button already. And it's like, it's not that easy. And you won't understand that until per se you are actually in the mix working with one, whether it's working for one or working with one. I don't say either or is good or bad, but I will say if you are interested in jumping into that, definitely kind of partner and work side by side with one, because it'll help, especially with the creative process, the thought process, and breaking certain things down. But the platform thing, the platform thing would be really dope for especially for certain creators, especially if you've dominated a specific space. So no. I do got a question. So as the business side of things, right? What do you feel in 2024 that creators need to concentrate on a little bit more? Like we talked about the different streams. We've talked about, maybe productizing yourself, all these different things that we've talked, whether it's with here or within the podcast. But like, what is maybe that first thing that someone should concentrate on for 2024 to make sure that they could collect whatever type of coins, but be very intentional instead of I'm just going to create videos and hope and pray that we can monetize this in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. So you said one, but I'll say two, because I think one of them is an extension of the main one. But shout out to Daniel Priestley, because he gave us that term, and that was literally the main thing that we've been working on, which is how do we better create a product ecosystem? Like, and I think that's really the main thing that creators need, because we've always joked on this podcast and said that you can't be an entrepreneur if you don't entrepreneur. If you don't make it easy for people to transact with you, you're not an entrepreneur. You're kind of you're in trial and error mode. So building a product ecosystem is a very intentional and strategic way of saying, okay, I know that this is the main thing that I am gifted or really good at doing. How can I build maybe a bridge or some form of journey that gets people to this? And once they're there, what might be the next thing that they need beyond that? All right. So again, a couple of weeks ago, we covered it on the podcast where we said BMW profits more from their finance products than they do off the cars themselves, but the finance products wouldn't exist if they didn't sell the cars.
Right.
So it's a very similar concept. So I think creators need to heavily think about how do they build product ecosystems that make sense for them and for their communities and for their brands. But more importantly, how do you create that during a time where there's going to be a downward pressure in pricing? What I mean by downward pressure in pricing is that you're seeing everyone across the industry, with the exception of maybe housing, food, and eggs, because that's still like super expensive, everyone is cutting their prices. Everyone's prices are starting to come down. And so you have to get really nitty gritty with how you'll remain competitive and maybe even swallow your ego a little bit or put your ego to the side, because what some people online were accustomed to charging for their products and services are not going to compete if they roll with those price points in 2024. That's just my early prediction as I'm seeing it. 2023, there was some opportunity, but then halfway through, you really started feeling it if you didn't make some adjustments. So I think 2024 will be the same. So it's how do you create a product ecosystem that's affordable, that really competes on value, out the water, so that your potential clients or customers and community members are with you, not just because they support you. Because you got to think about it like this. In tough times or during tough times, people are not just going to give you their money because they support you. They have to support themselves first. Now, think about yourself as, what would people do even during tough times, or what would I need to do that even during tough times, people still see this as a need? And I know this was talked about a lot in COVID. Oh, it's got to be an essential business. You got to be an essential business. But no one really tested or was tested on that model, because so much money was pumped into the economy that everyone didn't behave according to what was expected. So yeah, we said, hey, you got to be an essential business. But that was nonsense. People were still spending money out the wazoo. So we didn't really feel that pressure. This time around, though, I do think that is happening, especially because there's so many more creators that are in the space. So that makes it a thing. So those are, some of the things that I'm seeing for 24 on the business side.
That's so good. Listen, people, if you got any value from this, there's a few things you can do, right? One, there's a super chat, there's a super thanks, there's a super something when it comes to YouTube that will help support the channel. If we added some type of value, go ahead and hit that over there. As well as, please, from a bare minimum, share the podcast, share the YouTube channel. Let people know about what we have going on here so we can continue to do that as well. Tomorrow, every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, we drop the video side, the video experience of the podcast. So go check that out, as well as the after show drops on the podcast, on Apple Podcasts. Like I said, for those people who are more visual or who want all our content in one location, Patreon is coming. My assistant is working very hard. Shout out to my assistant. He's working very hard, so we are getting that out there soon. I would want to hopefully say December or top of 2024, we have that much content, okay? And we do not want to do the, hey, join there, you see nothing, and then just we build as we grow. I'm done with that. I can't do it. I can't do it. So just bear with us. We will keep you updated with that. So if you support Nikki and Moose, go ahead and get ready for that. And that's it. Thank you, Moose, for the conversation.
Yeah, for sure. No, thank you. It was super valuable.
Appreciate that. We're out. We love you guys. And you know what we're going to say.
Peace, y'all.
Holla.